We were having the pandemic, the fires, Black Lives Matter riots, the war with Ukraine, and that we wanted to bring this positivity out into the world. So this is a collection of 6 videos. The source was our circle time. We start by sharing stories. I think it's very fascinating if you listen to them, how aware they are of things. I asked them to make the movement their movement. That makes the choreo something that they really own. We had this show here in our studio. We did it for 2 or 3 weekends. And it was also choreographed for videos to project, but our favorite was downtown Berkeley. All that amount of research and planning, I think that was the background that helped us get the grant.
I had this idea for a song, Never Gonna Let You Go, that was about leaving this relationship in my real life that had been hugely detrimental. I realized it wasn't a song, it was a situation.
I'm not staying in Forever Town.
I wanted to express this core emotion of, I know I need to get out of here, but I can't, because there's that moment when you're leaving becomes the most dangerous moment in an abusive relationship. It's not just about being trapped, it's also about the vulgarity of ambition. I think there is a cost to denying that voice that calls you to captain your own ship. It's not just about getting a bunch of people together in the same place at the same time to do the thing in sequence. It is about how deeply can we imagine something, and then how well can we communicate that to other people in a way that lights them up. And they're like, oh, I know exactly what this is. But getting that grant was that's what allowed me to communicate it to other people that this was something real that I could pull off. Definitely go to any panel review Zooms that they do. It's so valuable to hear other people engage with your work, even if it's uncomfortable.
Is he alive?
What happened?
In other cultures, they revere elders. In American culture, not so much. I feel like we need to go to our elders for wisdom. They have a lot to teach us. I moved into this building, which is for seniors, about 7 years ago. And over that time period, at least 5 or 6 of my neighbors passed away. I thought to myself, what if I offered a class where the seniors in my building could share their stories through photographs? My photographs were so important to me. They're my most precious possessions.
And my grandfather was named Benjamin Franklin. Now, we don't know if he had any ties to that plantation or whatever, but he was among the first graduates from Tuskegee.
I introduced them to the basics of collage, papers and paints, and it was a combination of them writing a story on their canvases and then adding photos. Berkeleyans whose families have lived here for generations and may feel like they're disappearing. If they could apply for a grant to help them share their stories, I would absolutely encourage them to do so.
We were looking for a new project to do. We all got excited about this informant, Mekanovetsky. Ethnomusicologists were recording these informants. And when the war happened in Ukraine, we started really worrying about these manuscripts. I wanted to spend some time composing things in that style, as well as arranging some of those melodies. Even with the manuscripts, I'm filling them out all the time. I mean, if there's a skip of a fifth, I'm doing a run in that skip of a fifth. It's very much like Baroque music. Then the other people in our group also brought in some things that they had worked on. When we had about 45 minutes of repertoire, we performed it already through Calliope, East Bay Music and Arts. Now we're ready to record it. If the artist feels that it's an important thing, not just for personal development, but something that is going to reach as wide of a community as possible, do it.
It was so important for me to give an idea, a practical idea of a concentration camp. I'm a political prisoner from the time of the Pinochet dictatorship in Chile. I was in prison for 3 years, and then I was exiled in 1976 to the US. I knew that I wanted to do something for the 50-year commemoration of the coup, and I wanted to concentrate the story on my personal experience. The exhibit is many pictures from the camp by journalists who were allowed to go in. I had a booth with an interview to a US sailor who told me about the US intervention.
We transferred the seals.
Inside the camp, most of them are Chilean flag, but on the left side, there are many other flags from international political prisoners. I felt like very close to an experience that so many people unfortunately had to live. We have to remember those times, even though they're very difficult. For me and for many Chileans and the community that support La Peña, it was a really big deal. If you have an idea and you are very committed, don't be afraid of rejections, just go for it. That's what I did.
I play traditional Shona Mbira music of Zimbabwe. So the idea of this project first was generated by my teaching and creating a form of ear training for students where I would make them sing melodies in what the mbira is playing. Because the music is so complex, it's like you're using 2 thumbs and 1 finger to create like a whole orchestra of melodies. I wanted to bring people together after all the isolation of the pandemic. I would train people to sing those melodies and get the audience to sing them as a way of creating community through music. And then that side's gonna go. The way the melodies interlock is very emblematic of how people in a village help each other with things to be able to survive in that context. Everyone was experiencing prehistoric music. The financial support was important, but also the commitment that this has to happen in this time frame.
For me, this poetic treasure in Iran is endless. The music that has survived with a lot of difficulties, especially after Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979. With all the bands, especially the bands on women's solo voice, that still it is like this. It is not easy detachment, when you have to leave your country. And I came here to be able to sing. I feel a commitment also for future, to preserve this music for the next generation.
I really wanted to make sure people knew about my family's history in South Berkeley, that, Mexican Americans are still there. And I weave together ideas, memories, and thoughts to just create like a constant state of reflection. The first panel actually starts with me when I was in Rhode Island having my first bipolar episode. I just got into the program and I was realizing what my place was in the art world. The next panel takes place in South Berkeley with the people that I miss and I love the most, like my mom, my sister, girlfriend, little brother. And then it transitions into a portrait of my head thinking about my extended family, my mom's twin sister, my cousins that I grew up in South Berkeley. In the background of the fourth painting, you see the architecture of the apartments that I grew up in South Berkeley with myself as a child painting a self-portrait of an Aztec dance circle with more members of my family in the back. I use multiple collages, multiple drawings, already existing paintings, and I collaged them all together to make a brand new painting. This is actually the largest painting that I've ever done. Even from the beginning of this grant and from now, I feel like I'm in a totally different place with my artwork.
These big research projects that are really just helping us remember knowledge that a lot of Indigenous cultures have held for thousands of years. The book really interweaves my experiences as a child in a multilingual family to all these realms of curiosity I've experienced. What are the sounds in the natural world? What are the communications in the natural world? What are the languages spoken by other species? And how can we feel more connected to each other and to our environment by becoming deeper listeners? I love making these discoveries. I love connecting dots and kind of burrowing into something and then going sideways. The grant gave me time and space to really reflect as deeply as possible.
I wrote 5 new pieces, revamped an older one to fit the project, to reflect the various musical cultures here in Berkeley and here at the Dorothy Day House. This is a women-led shelter, but also has resources for medical and mental health care. We rehearsed twice here at the Dorothy Day House for residents as part of the project, and then performed across the street at Berkeley's Civic Center Park. The concert was open to anyone and everyone and included the Dorothy Day House presence with resources and information. A large part of this project is to bring diverse communities together. I had already connected with the Dorothy Day House about this project and had them on board and in place. We had our project very clearly outlined, and then I submitted the grant. So I think that's very helpful to know.